All right, welcome everyone. We're letting everybody trickle in here. We are streaming live to LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. So I've got some listeners over there and we can still see your comments today. So feel free to get in the chats over there. If you are here with us on Zoom, welcome. We'd love for you to share where you're tuning in from. What city, state are you listening in from today? We will get started here shortly.
Do I have concrete dust on me at all? Do I have any drywall dust or anything? I
No.
was busy working on our Euless store here. Set to open another one. I'm excited for it.
All right.
Want to see it?
Okay, we'll give it a couple minutes here. And if you are just joining us, let us know where you're tuning in from, where you're located. We are here in Dallas, Texas. Nice warmer day finally. We had some cold ones.
Yeah, it's shipping. There's been I want to say shipping issues, logistics things because of all the storms and stuff. It's funny how weather plays a role on that, especially when you're shipping 2,000 pounds of salt.
Wish I had my second screen over here. Let's see. All right, guys, hang tight. We'll get started here in about a minute. All right, you ready to get started here?
Ready? Let's do this.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. No matter where you're tuning in from, if you're sitting on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the things, thank you for joining us today. We are excited for this presentation. Kyle and I are with Altered States Wellness, and one thing we're really passionate about is preparing people for the wellness industry. This is an industry that we have been in for quite some time, so we hope you get a lot of value out of today. Today, we are going to be sharing with you what it actually takes to open and operate a wellness business in 2026. We've been in this industry for quite a long time and we've had a lot of learning lessons along the way. And there's been a lot of things that have changed in this industry. So, we are going to give you some real insights from our experience. We'll walk you through the realities of this industry. We're going to be straight up and honest with you. We're going to tell you the decisions that matter most and a lot of the frameworks that we've learned along the way that hopefully can be applicable to you. So, if you are interested in the wellness industry or you're already in the wellness space, let us know in the chat what is it that you do or what is intrigued you about wellness. We'd love to see it. All right, massage therapy,
Love it.
awesome. Sauna. Yep, we're familiar with some sauna. Awesome. Wellness in general. Okay. Perfect. Well, you guys are all in the right place. So definitely jump in the chat. We love it when you guys are active. And join along. Been an RN for 6 years, passionate about health and fitness. I love that. IV hydration. Yep, that's a great one right now. Perfect. Awesome. Perfect. Well, let's dive in here. Now, stay with us till the end. We're going to be diving into a lot of different areas today. But at the end, we're going to open it up to Q&A. So feel free to put your questions in the comments, and then we will make sure we come back and address those at the end here. Now, we want to do a little exercise. You want to walk through this one?
Yeah, so we always like to do a little exercise so we can go over your why, right? And a lot of what this, when it's 6 o'clock in the morning and you've been working for a while, a lot of times I have to say, people ask me what the difference is and how you keep going. It's why I wake up before my alarm clock is because of my why. So we like to dig into that a little bit. So pull out a piece of paper and I want you to draw a line right down the middle of it, right? Um, and take a look at it. On the left side, I want you to describe some, kind of in a few words, just describe your life right now, whether that's in corporate, whether that's at your current center, whatever the case may be. Things like hectic, unheard is another big thing that we see a lot of times. But yeah, just kind of go over that and show you what we want to create here is a little bit of the gap and the gain, right? We're real big on that book. If you've never read that book, for sure read that. And then on the right side, I want you to write down a few words that describe kind of where you're looking to go and how you can see opening a wellness or operating a wellness shop, how that would affect your life, not just monetarily, but also your day to day. Like, what is the problem that what we're trying to get at is what is the problem that a wellness studio would solve for you, right? For me, personally, I always say this is doing what I do is the bridging the gap between what I do and who I am, right? And that allows me to never have to, I haven't set an alarm in 8 years, like I tell people, right? And that's really your why. Okay. So when it gets tough, it's really important to focus on your why. And that's one of the big things that we talk about later in the presentation as well.
So we're going to give you a minute here. I want you to pull out that pen and paper. On the left side, write down words and descriptive words that describe your life right now, today. It can be anything that comes to mind. And then on the right side, this is your future state. This is if I open a wellness business, what am I envisioning? What is that description? So take about 30 seconds here, jot some things down. Okay, so if you wrote some things down on that left-hand side, so the descriptive words of your life now, throw some of those in the chat. It can be anything. There's no wrong answer here. Just whatever you want to use to describe your life right now. All right, I see chaotic, stressed and overworked. I get that. Yes, yes. Uh, Stuck in corporate. Yep, been there for sure. Yes, I can relate to a lot of these. Yeah. All right, now let's switch to that other side. So the right-hand side where we described what's that future state? What do we want our life to look like with this wellness business? What would that provide for you? What did we put in that column? Any word, sentence, feeling, emotion. Again, no wrong answer here. Freedom. I like that. Yes. Yes. Freedom. Flexibility. Also a good one. Helping others. It's a big, huge one. Independency, ownership. Yes. I like that. Influence on people. Passion for helping others. Yes. You guys are all putting great answers here. I love that. So, yes, the reason we love starting with this is because one of the hardest things about owning and operating a wellness business is when those challenges arise. And sometimes it's easy to forget this why, right?
Right.
Like, you can so easily get stuck in the day to day, and it's so important to keep this why in the back of your mind. So, one thing I want to encourage you to do is write down these words, those future state, that big why. Choose like one or two that you wrote down in that right column and put it somewhere that you can see it every day, whether that's on your fridge and your mirror. So every day you have that drive, that why behind what you're doing, right? Because this doesn't opening a wellness business does not happen overnight, and there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but we're all here for a specific reason. We're in this industry. It's one thing I love about the wellness industry and the wellness space is it brings a lot of people who are really passionate and have really, really strong whys. So I want you to remember and cultivate that why, right?
Yeah, it's big. The purpose is always a big driver. Certainly, this is not a non-for-profit business. You have to make, you have to turn a profit, but the real value a lot of people see, because you've been successful in other forms of your life, and that's, led to monetary success and maybe burnout and stuff. We see that all the time in the stores, but really that kind of next level, right, of being able to take your message, your influence, and scale it. And that's done a lot through the wellness. It's done a lot for us in
Yeah.
that space for wellness for sure.
Love it. All right. So here is our agenda for today. We're going to start by talking about the wellness industry in general. What is it looking like today, and where is it heading? And then we're going to move to common mistakes. So we've been in this industry for over 8 years, and we've made some mistakes. We've seen other people make some mistakes, and we're going to share those with you, so you can prevent those. Then we're going to talk about what it will take to be successful in this space right now. This is a very competitive landscape today, and there's some things that you really got to do to differentiate yourself. So we're talking about that. We're going to share some of the traits of a successful owner, things that we look for when we partner with franchisees, that make them wildly successful in the franchise business space. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what it looks like to go with this solo versus going with a franchise. When we went through this same debate ourselves 8 years ago, so we've got some insights to share with you there. And then we're going to open it up for some Q&A. So stay with us till the end, put your questions in the chat, and we will be diving into those together.
So a little bit about who we are. Jojo and I both have backgrounds in sales and operations. We were former multi-franchise franchisee unit operators. So we had our own stores. We're in the trenches, right? That's a big thing with us. I'm constantly at the builds, as you can see here. We were picking up equipment and moving it across the country. So it's a big thing about who we are. We understand everything from the ground floor all the way up. Um, uh, 2 years ago, we founded Altered States Wellness. Went through all of the legality and all of the song and dance for a year. And then in the last year, we've helped to open an additional 5 locations, all in the Texas area here. So we're all about it. We understand things at every level. I hate to kind of talk about myself and brag on myself, but it's important for you guys to understand and know kind of where we're coming from, all the way to the point of us. That is actual salt on my shirt on that picture. We are in the flow tanks. We are doing wellness. We are living that life, and kind of are all about whatever it takes. We're a nice combination. Joanne is a lot of the brains, and I am the back of this. So it worked out really well, and that it's been a great partnership. Obviously, with it and marriage too. So it's been a challenge. It's been fun, but it's something it's our entire lives, right?
Yeah, I think this picture was we drove up to Omaha for one of our franchise locations, and helped them get some used float tanks that we had to take out of a storage unit on the very, very back end of the storage unit. So we were covered in salt, needless to say, after pulling 3 huge float tanks out of there. So that was a fun one, but we always like to show a little behind the scenes there. So let's dive in here and talk about the wellness boom.
So you guys have seen all the stats, all the numbers. it's about 8 trillion now in 2026. It does have an annual 8% growth. By 2029, they see it at 9.8 trillion. I've seen some other numbers closer to 11. So they're meaning there is a there is a big pie, right? And we always say we're trying to get out there and get our 1%. I want 1% of that. Uh, that's the goal. North America is one of the fastest growing markets, essentially taking, that Eastern form of medicine and seeing the outflux of, our Western form of medicine. Circana shows that U.S. health and wellness consumers hold about 1.3 trillion in buying power. Globally, that's huge, right? NIQ customers or consumers are willing to spend more than $100 per month. So not only is it top of mind for them, but they also see the urgency and they want to commit to it to the tune of $100 a month on average in mass, right? 82% of consumers consider wellness now a top priority, moving away from the fitness and things like that, right? You had this huge gym boom. Now we're starting to see the wellness boom. One thing I will say with this, though, is the time is now. If you spin this forward, if you sit on your hands for 18 months, what's going on now within the industry is these big players, these VCs, things of that nature, they're going in and they're reading these exact same numbers. And they say, well, what if we get 1% of that, 2%, 3%, whatever? So they're seeing the opportunity. And you're starting to see, and especially like we're a little bit more biohacking as far as it comes to wellness, but especially these biohacking things are starting to come up and up and up. You're starting to see some of the major, I guess, how these big ticket places do is they look for certain demographics that can check the box. 180 household income, X amount of population, boom, 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 boom. As you see all of these throughout the country, you're starting to see these markets getting gobbled up. Now, do I think personally, based on what we do, that is the most optimal place to open a store? Not necessarily. I don't. I actually think that we have a different method that we go by. But my point is that it's coming, right? And you are going to not now be, you're losing your opportunity in your window to become an early adopter. In being an early adopter, one thing we learned on our previous business was key, right? Yes, you had to do a little bit more education to the market, but also you got first crack and you were able to take advantage of that low hanging fruit. So if you're serious about it, definitely now would be the time before it is too late, essentially.
Mhm.
But with that being said, strong demand does not guarantee a strong business. Okay. There's a couple pillars of this that we'll go over, but keep that in mind, right? This is not field of dreams. If you build it, they will not come necessarily, right? So just simply hanging a cool sign on your front of your building does not guarantee success. So we'll talk about some of those different things to help with that.
Yeah, we've opened in highly populated markets with a lot of demand. And I got to tell you, it takes more than just opening the doors. So if anybody's out there telling you, hey, just open, they're going to come running in, that's just not the case. And we're here to help guide you. There's simple methods and systems that you can put in place to drive traffic, but you have to have those in place to be set up for success. One of the worst things I hate seeing is somebody that invests, a whole year, their life's income on opening a business, but they didn't have the proper tools and systems. And so the first 6 months to a year is just a huge struggle. And I hate seeing that. So hopefully we can help you with that today. All right, so let's dive into common mistakes. So Kyle and I have been in this industry. We started out in product-based business, moved to service-based businesses. We've seen a lot of friends in this space, and there's some really common things that we see often that can really hurt your business. So everything we're sharing today comes from lessons learned the hard way. Trust us, we've made those $40,000 mistakes. So you don't have to, right?
Yeah, a lot of you are probably like me, right? When I never learn a lesson until I absolutely fail. That's just how it is. I have to feel pain so that I learn. So yeah, we've felt that pain, so we understand it for sure.
Right. So number one is building a provider dependent model. Now, I'm not against, having a nurse on staff or having a massage therapist on staff. But if your entire business is built around only providers, you are looking at an extremely high payroll dependent model. I've seen business owners, we've reviewed like P&Ls with business owners that have come to us and said, hey, I want some help here. And they're bringing in some insane revenue numbers. Like we'll see $40,000, $50,000 a month, and they're what they think should be doing fantastic. And that is fantastic. But then when we dive into their P&L and they're spending 15, 16, $17,000 a month on payroll, that is such a huge chunk of their operating costs, and really lowers your ability to bring in that profitability. So one thing we always, always want you to look at in this space is not looking at a model that is all providers. So we've got to have this mix, or, being primarily, equipment based, or utilizing services and methods and products. And we'll talk more about that here. But be cognizant of this and look for ways to reduce your payroll, of not having to have someone on this really high hourly rate at all hours of your business, right? Okay, number two, and this is one that we specifically learned the hard way, was pigeonholing the business into one or two services. So I know sometimes people will come to us and be like, yeah, but I want to be the expert in this space. Like I want to only do IV therapy, or I want to only do sauna. And I got to tell you, I caution you with this, because first off, wellness people want to do wellness things. And so when you are an expert in this space, they want to come to you for products and services and new innovative technologies. So now I'm not telling you to stack your business with 20 different things, but we do need a revenue mix here. Kyle and I, our first dabble into wellness was with a franchise, and it was with a CBD franchise. And best decision we ever made buying into a franchise. It was fantastic, but we learned very quickly that the name had CBD in it. And so when the market started pivoting in that space, we wanted to add new things, but we were really kind of stuck because the sign on the door said CBD. When we added in new services or new things, it was confusing to people, and it really was difficult to grow and expand and add new things. So I look at people that have businesses that are like, the sauna house, or the cold plunge lab. And when you do that to yourself, you're stuck there for years and years to come. So you're banking on an industry staying the same for 10 years. And I got to tell you, every single industry evolves. Every industry is going to pivot, and at some point you want to know that you can easily pivot. There have been so many things that have changed, and the fact that we could easily pivot our business and capitalize on that new cool trend or thing has allowed us to stay in this game so long and continue to be here and continue to grow and thrive.
This is really important to think of especially initially with the branding, right? Let's say, if we only pigeonholed ourselves as to sauna, first of all, wellness is about delivering results, right? And if I only have one tool to deliver, results, I'm just really limited, right? And you know how these things are. You stack these different things, and that not only allows you to deliver better results, but keeps your customers coming back, right? They're retained. If they get burnt out on the float tank, they can switch to something else, or that might not make sense for them. And then as it moves forward, you can also, you guys know this, you've been in this space, like people trust you for other things. If I've helped you with the infrared sauna, people come to me for workout things or this, that, and the other. You just become an expert. And then as things move, you continue to be curious, and you can continue to develop and serve your customers that much better, that in turn serving your business that much better.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on to number three, investing in marketing, or in the wrong kind. So there's two things here. Number one is marketing is what's going to help you grow your business. We said this earlier. This is not the field of dreams. You have to market your business. You have to have a marketing plan when you launch, and that marketing needs to start before the doors even open. So that's one thing we really, really dig in and work with our franchisees on an entire launch marketing plan so they can start with members and customers in this strong base from the beginning.
Yeah, get some buzz.
Right, right. And the second thing is investing in the wrong kind. And if you take away one thing, I want it to be this. If you do not have a way to track your marketing and know if it's working or not, then you are throwing money away.
Right.
You have to know specifically if your marketing is working. And I don't want you to go invest in $5,000 into one marketing channel and not know if it's working. So at the end of the year, sometimes I will go, we'll talk to business owners and say, hey, what channel did the best for you? And they'll say, I don't really know. Like that is not a good answer. You need to know. We need to know
You
because
don't know your numbers, you don't know your business.
sometimes you're spending $1,000 a month on marketing and it's actually not driving anybody into your business, and you just don't know that. So every single marketing channel that we utilize, we have a specific way we can track it. We know exactly at the end of the month how many people did it drive into the business, what did those people spend, so we can constantly know if it's working. Marketing can be a large expense but a necessary expense, but you have to know if it's working for you.
And as you talk to these vendors, when you open, these people start coming out of the woodwork and you're targeted with ads. That's the very first question that we ask. We have a list of questions. We talk to all the new franchise. We actually sit on the calls with them initially, but it's like, the very first question is what does success look like to you, Mr. Marketing Guru, and how do we track that? And actually I kind of break it down in my head and just say, hey, look, if each float costs $100 and you're asking me for $5,000, I got to sell 50 floats just to pay you, bud. So that might not be the best thing. And think about that as you go through this. It's super important. Also, understanding how the message and the content and the offer and the call to action and all of that needs to line up. I'm getting into the weeds a little bit here, but keep that in mind as you go through it. Simply blasting your logo everywhere doesn't necessarily pay, doesn't necessarily move the needle. So really dig in on that.
All right. Number 4 is relying solely on membership. So we've been in this game for a long time, and we'd be lying if we said that there wasn't a little bit of membership fatigue. Right now, just with the economy, people are a little reluctant to sign up to another subscription, especially and stay on that. Now, you have to have a membership strategy. That reoccurring revenue is huge for your business, and it's still something we constantly grow within our business, but we don't solely rely on memberships. You can't just rely on a membership business because you will just constantly be replenishing members every month and you won't be able to see a lot of growth. So you have to have other revenue streams, whether that's one-off services, experiences, products, group parties, events. There's so many different things that you can do to bring in more revenue, but I don't want you to rely only on a membership model. There's a lot of models in this wellness space that solely rely on memberships. So I just want to caution you from those and really ask the questions of, what else is there? What are the other revenue streams, right?
And then this also goes back to your why too, right? You see this with a lot of these big brands that go out and they do this huge founding membership push at, 60 cents on the dollar. They get 300 members. And then now you go from doing what you wanted to do, which was helping people, to essentially running a call center, just trying to get rid of that churn, right? And keep people on and keep people on. In the day to day, yes, of course, we want to do that. We want to save as many people as we can, improve prove our worth here. But at the same time, you want to be out there helping people and you want to be doing this. And that it takes a huge shift of the business away from, let's help people and deliver results, to I got to get them on, I got to keep them on and use, contracts and whatnot to save them. So just focus on, it's for like that sole focus, that laser focus on just that really takes away from the heart and soul of the company.
All right, so now that you know some of the common mistakes to stay away from, we are going to pivot and talk about what it takes to be successful.
So the first one, a lot of the market now, and you see this with wearables and stuff, it's the data and personalization, right? People want to feel special. People want to feel like we're not simply guessing. A lot of times with these one-off big franchises, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So if I come in and you have, regardless of what issue you have, right, I'm going to say, well, sauna is going to be the best thing in the world for you. That's not generally true, right? We see that a lot because we have a multitude of services. I know what works versus what doesn't work, right? So that helps them, makes them feel reassured that their investment that they're making is actually being spent smartly, right? If they can go and they can see that they did, a 90-minute float, and then for the next 3 days, their sleep score is shot through the roof. They want to be able to see that. And it's very big, especially with the younger generation. The younger generation is a majority of the first adopters. One thing we see is that your 45 to 65, those are our long-term customers. So we do have both options of play. The longevity play that we say, they're not as concerned with the data, they're not as micromanaging, but your younger demographic definitely is. And they are early adopters, they are big drivers, they do a ton of the experiences. So we want to capitalize on a lot of that. Next. The next thing is experiential wellness, not just services. If you go into one of our studios, you see it's warm, it's comfortable, it's cozy. You want to be you want it to be a place that's open, that people want to come to, even if they're not doing services, right? We have a picture of the Magic Kingdom there. Every little detail, excuse me, inside of the Magic Kingdom is done to elicit comfortability, positive emotions, things of that nature, so that and then obviously in turn for you to spend more money, that is a priority of theirs and of ours for sure. But it's also about the experience. These people want to see an experience. They don't want some sterile float room with a pod sitting in the corner. They want to have the feel. They want to have sounds, sights, emotions, all of the senses. So really focus in on that as opposed to, hey, you're in room number 3. I'll see you in 45 minutes. Like that's kind of what we're moving away from. That's more of transactional wellness, whereas we focus a lot more on the experiential wellness. We can talk about how we actually go about doing that at a later time, but that's the gist of the whole thing. The third thing is an education-led model. Do you need to be an absolute expert in every single service, yada, 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 all that stuff? No, you just have to know more than the customer and know enough to be able to communicate to them why this is effective as opposed to that, why you should do these things consistently. We all know this. The name of this game is selling consistency, right? And how do you go about selling consistency? That's from knowledge, and that's from actual urgency within your tone, voice, things of that nature, and actually living kind of the lifestyle that you're selling is another big thing. But being able to communicate, not microscopic theta brainwaves and all that stuff, but to be able to make it relatable and make it so that people understand what the heck it is that they're doing. I always talk about, I get approached with a ton of weird different things. I'm always asking, what lever are we pulling? What are we doing here? How is this actually manifesting in the body, and how is this going to lead to the results of what I'm trying to do? So an education-led model is very, very important. The fourth thing is systems. Systems. Your business are systems, right? You want to remove the guesswork. Think about, we want to build a business. We don't want to just, when you're going into, as you go and enter into the wellness industry, you don't want to just be basically your own employee. You want to develop the systems. Systems work when you're on vacation. Systems work when you're doing marketing meetings or whatever the case may be. You want to build these systems so the place doesn't fall apart when you're not there. Systems are very important. A system for marketing, a system for maintenance on the machines, a system for HR, all of these things, that are smart, that have been tried and true, and that yes, they can tweak, but actually to have the employees or whoever within the organization follow that specific system, something that we did for over a year as we were developing this franchise. And the
Awesome.
fourth one is traits of an owner. Jojo, you want to take this one on?
Yep. All right. So, as we mentioned, we've been in this industry a long time, and there have been huge highs and huge lows. And there are traits that we specifically look for with franchisees that we work with that we know are necessary to be successful in this wellness space. So, we love to share these with people. Number one is resilient. You've got to be resilient. There are going to be challenging times in this space, and just business in general. So, being resilient, being able to push through is absolutely necessary. Number two, and we saw this a lot in the comments when you guys were sharing your why, is being people centered. So, every time that we have grown a fan for life, people that have been coming to see us for 8 years have come because they've become huge fans of us because we were focused on them. We were focused on providing them more value, taking that extra interest and really understanding what's going on in their lives. So, putting people at the forefront of your business in this space, it's an absolute must have, right?
The money will follow is always the idea.
Number three is curious. So that curiosity to learn. We've always had to pivot and go see what's going on in this industry. How can we change? How can we evolve? How can we be better? So staying curious is absolutely necessary. Number three is a growth mindset. This is one that I learned at my Microsoft days, and it's one that I think has brought me very far in this industry, and I see it so easily with people if they have this mindset. But learning from your failures, right? So you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna mess up, but using those as opportunities to grow is absolutely one of the best things you can do in this space. We always, whenever we onboard a new employee, I've gotten so used to, we're just gonna let them fail fast, right? Let them fail fast and learn, right? I can't micromanage them. I can't hold their hand and do it for them. We just have to let people learn from the mistakes and not be afraid to make those mistakes, right? So having that growth mindset and knowing that failure is an opportunity to grow is huge. And then lastly is the ownership mentality, right? The one thing about small business is you don't have a boss, you don't have a corporate team to rely on. You've got to take ownership of the day to day. If the business is not doing well, it's on you. If someone has a need, that's on you. So having that mentality and knowing that you want to step in that space is huge. So tell us in the chat. Let's get you guys back in the chat here. What's one of these traits that you think you embody right now? Brag about yourself a little and share with us one that you won't have a problem with in this industry. All right, I'm seeing people centered. Yes, I love that. Ownership mentality. Yes, great. People centered and curious.
Curious
Yes.
is just a great thing to have as a person in general.
Yeah.
I've noticed, like, even in like your day-to-day conversations or even in business as you're trying to sell something or whatever, just being curious and asking that additional question is always so key.
Perfect. All right. So you don't build a business, you build people, and then people builds the business. So you have two opportunities here and ways that you can kind of step into the wellness business.
So the first one, go at your own, go solo, right? Create a brand, start marketing, going from there. The other opportunity is going through a franchise. Obviously, one of our decisions of this was like, we don't know what we don't know when we went in and did our first franchise. And it was tough, right? But it would have been a lot tougher had we have not had that franchise, the community to lean on. That's one of the most underlooked things of a franchise is just that additional community of people that are marching towards with the same goal, right? So those are the two different ways that you can go about doing it. Couple of the pros as far as going solo, you do have full creative control, actual ownership, right? You have complete independence in decision making. You can build exactly what you envision, and you also don't have to. You don't have the royalty fees. So those are definitely some positives. The only thing, the cons is a steep learning curve. And every time you try something and it fails, that costs something, whether it's time or if it's money, right? Time is money. As you continue, as you own your own business and continue, I always say this, like, it's the time, and I've had to be real focused with my time and value my time a lot more. And this especially, right? If you run a marketing thing that doesn't work and you give it 90 days, not only are you not reaching it, but you're killing the momentum on your business, as well as you're out that actual dollars and cents cost. It's a slower time to profitability, right? Because of that learning curve. Every decision and problem falls on you. You don't have the phone. There's no one on the phone for you to pick up, or maybe you do. But the idea is with with a franchise, you have somebody on the phone to call when something goes wrong. Believe me, I know I take those calls for sure. And then the last one, which I think is the biggest one, is you don't have any systems already in place. Or you have a system that hasn't been tested and it hasn't been tried and true. So, not to crap on being going solo, but those are some of the cons of it. Franchise of pros, it's proven, right? Done it before, seen it, done it. There's nothing, at least for myself and JoJo, there's nothing we haven't seen in over the course of the last 8 years. With the franchise, another pro is a faster ramp up time, right? We know exactly what to do. We know the avatars of people that are at the other stores, where we go and find them, how we find them, what message we need to use, when we should use that message, how we should get them in, what offers we should have. It's a blueprint for it. It's not guesswork. We know exactly what to do, what has worked, what hasn't worked. You get brand recognition and consumer trust, right? They see the logo, they've been maybe somewhere else. You're constantly seeing it. Plus, the with that brand recognition, you utilize and capture all the other stores too with it. Maybe they drove by our Euless store and saw it, and were sitting in, the Colony, and wanted to do a float or something like that. Boom, we show up amongst 4 or 5 people. Hey, I saw their logo before. Now they're going in. It's a big thing. The other thing too is training and support. You know, what do you train your employees on? How do you go about doing that? Things like that, right? And then the last, is certainly not least, and I talked about this before, is the support. And as you choose a franchise, you want to find out, are they going to support you? It was real big for us as the founders. Our role is to sell the franchise, and our role is to support our franchisees 100%, whether that's going to Omaha, Nebraska and driving 3 float tanks down, or moving equipment at another store. So you want that next level support because you need a team member and somebody in there, essentially a partner. So that support is key.
Yeah, and to me, I think the ramp up is the biggest thing
Yeah.
because so many people barely make it through that first year of business. So being able to ramp up quickly, pivot, make changes, use a proven model. If you can walk into a business that has 50 memberships, 50 members from day one, it's a huge difference than having to take 6 months to ramp up, right?
Right. Sales is a cycle. Sales is a funnel, right? If you're going in and you're trying to, you're going to open the doors on March 1st, and then you wait to market the thing. Like, it's going to take people to get in the top, then they get to the bottom before they get into to your center. So that is really, really important. Some of the franchise cons: less flexibility, plus you have to pay the fees and royalties, which, you have to make that decision. Is that worth it for you? Does the support match up with me paying 7%? Things like that. Less flexibility. If you're talking to a franchisor, ask them, hey, if I have this wild idea, like, what about that? And if you're really passionate about it, that might be a deal breaker for you. But for somebody like us, we sit there and we always are of the belief that, like, I'm not going to cold say no to you without having a conversation about it. So you want to have that interaction. That was a big thing for us with our last franchises. We had all these ideas, and I mean, we were building a full-on wellness center while we were operating that current franchise, and they were cool with it, but they just didn't want to leverage a lot of that. And it's funny because a lot of those stores are out of business while we're continue to expand. So being able to, not just for flexibility, but being able to have your voice heard, it was a big thing, and is still a big thing.
All right. So we see the smart way to enter wellness in 2026 as with a franchise. Absolutely. If for some of you, this franchising may be the first time you've ever even thought
Sure.
about it today, right? We went down the same path. We were wanting to do something in wellness. We had gone through our own self-care journey and we're really passionate about it. And we weren't sure how to step into this space. But when we started looking into franchising, it just made sense. So this might just be a sign for you to start navigating this journey with the support and that Kyle just spoke about. So we have a multi-modality model. We do float therapy, sauna, cold plunge, red light, and PEMF, as well as our own branded product line. We design our services around data and personalization. So we run nervous system scans, give people data on what their body actually needs instead of just throwing them in a cold plunge and hoping that they see some results. We are experience driven. We are not provider dependent. And we are built scale with systems, SOPs from years and years of experience. We have that balanced revenue mix beyond just memberships. So our stores see healthy revenue streams in multiple categories. And it's led by founders who were former franchisees ourselves. So we are hands-on in the trenches with you. We're helping you with the location. We're helping you with the build out. We are driving float tanks across the country and coming on site to train with you and your staff. So before we open it up to Q&A, we are going to put a link in the chat. If franchising sounds like of interest to you, or if you want to pick our brains on the wellness industry, we'd love to chat. So set up a one-on-one with us. We don't offer one-on-ones all the time, but we really want to help people navigate and get into this space. Like Kyle said earlier, the time is now. If you wait another year, this space is going to be a lot more competitive.
Saturated. Yeah.
Yes. So, yes. All right, so let's open it up to some questions. Any questions are great. There really is no wrong answer here. Let me get that chat real quick while you guys put your questions in the chat. All right, it looks like someone over on LinkedIn is asking, what was your experience like with the franchise? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, our experience with the franchise was great. It was limited though, I would say. So there were, that's why we hammer on support. Our initial docs are like, I don't know, what's the owner's manual, like 300, 400 pages of every little detail. Whereas the owner's manual that we had with the prior franchise was like 10 pages, right? The build out was, hey, go to IKEA and put some liquid nails on these cabinets, and that was the build out. I felt a lot of that was limited. Um, but it's in the beginning, I would say like the first year or two it was great, right? And I touched on this before. The biggest thing that I liked about it was a community, and then also the economies of scale. Like we would get together as a Dallas place, as the Dallas franchisees, and we would pool money together and use the spend that they gave us to get into some bigger marketing plays like radio. It made no sense for me to run radio ads for my 3 stores of the 40 stores in North Dallas. But as a brand, if we can run them all together, heck yeah. I really love that economies of scale thing. That was a real big thing, and just the community of us kind of going together with it. If I needed to pull an employee or do this or do that, or I needed a shift or had something or needed somebody to help out, that was a huge, huge thing that I really enjoyed that part of it
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely taught us a lot of what we wanted to build with this franchise.
Thousand
So
percent.
we learned, we wanted to be super hands-on and in the trenches with you guys. We wanted to test everything before we rolled it out and provide a lot of that training and support. Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, and that's why we show those pictures and stuff like that. Is like we want to hammer down on the support, and that's what you're paying for, really, right? And of course, the systems and things like that. But it's that one-on-one. It's that big brother essentially to be like, hey, dude, maybe we tried that last year. Here are some pitfalls. We
Yeah.
tried that. Focus on this, or dude, let me get on the phone with you for that, for the first couple, and we'll go through that. And then just to be able to communicate the overall process. I really enjoyed that part.
Mm-hmm. All right, Kenya, what are some examples of not having a provider dependent model? So, when we say providers, it's basically a person.
Person.
So we just don't want to only be reliant on people to run your services. So, that just adds up on your payroll. If you have 8 service rooms and 8 people on staff for 12 hours a day, that payroll increases. Now, I'm not saying don't do providers at all. We have some locations with massage therapists. We've got some locations that do are looking into peptides and IVs and stuff like that. And we think that's a great revenue stream. But you don't want to be solely dependent on people to run your services. So, having services like sauna or cold plunge, things that we that don't require humans to run the services is huge.
Yeah, like what else would your customers like within that? And that was kind of the thing. That was a genesis of a lot of like us adding flow tanks, right? We were a CBD store. We saw the same type of people came in, pain, inflammation, anxiety. I had about 1,000 square feet in the back of the store and said, what the heck else can we do with this? We, like Jojo said, we were going through a little personal wellness journey of our own and found flow therapy. So we added a flow tank. Well, now I have all these customers coming in for CBD. Hey dog, have you checked this out? Boom, now they're interested. And that's how we really grew that. And then as that expanded, we thought, all right, what else is coming up? What else? These people are willing to do some interesting biohacking, different services. Where else are they? Like, and so cold plunge sauna started popping up. And so we doubled down on that. But yeah, just really figuring out like what else do your customers need? What could they utilize? How could it elevate the experience of, just the massage? And you see this at other places, right? Or like the massage place that we go to has some of the exact same saunas that we have. And it's a great model because it not only once those machines are paid off, it's a huge margin that offsets the margin of, your payroll and stuff like that. So we want to create larger margin things as opposed to doing a massage for somebody who's getting paid, I don't know what, $40, a licensed massage therapist, $40, you're getting $100 an hour per massage. It's not the best margins. Being able to kind of extend those margins in other places is just very healthy for the business.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use it in different you can use it in different marketing ways too, right? You can lead with the sauna. People that like the sauna are also just in massage. Now you have them there, you can just sell them more things.
All right. What's been the hardest thing about owning a wellness business?
Um, no, I don't think it's hard. I think I don't know. In the beginning, I struggled with you know, the ownership part of it, the kind of self-rescue thing was a big thing for me.
Mm.
It was nice coming from corporate America to be like, dude, I don't know, let me rope in my manager. That was tough. It would have been nice to have somebody to kind of lean on. And we did with the franchise, but as we got more into wellness and floating and stuff like that, that was a little tough. Um, but I don't know. None of it's been hard, really. I mean, looking back on it, I mean, day to day is hard. The grind can be hard. Don't get me wrong, right? But it's work. And when you look at, we've gotten pretty good at focusing on our why, right? And then anytime I'm having a bad day, numbers day, staffing, whatever the case may be, I'll go into the store and I'll see somebody that I've known for 8 years who, had cancer before. And I'm not saying I cured them cancer, but for an hour while they were in that flow tank, like I'd helped them, at least they felt better and they were grateful for it. And that really, it's just making that mental shift and looking for your wins and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the ramp up, like that first 6 months, just the unknown,
Yeah.
you're not sure where your revenue is going to be at. The day to day is kind of like, oh, this is a great day, and oh my gosh, this was a bad day, and so that can be a little bit like it takes you a minute to stabilize, and then it becomes a norm. So, yeah, yeah, I think that one. All you're welcome to book a call. Yes, we'd absolutely love to chat with you. Doesn't have to be for the
Doesn't have to
franchise.
be franchising alone. We're here. We're
All
here to help.
right. All right, I think that's all the questions I'm seeing in all of our live stream areas. I'm trying to check them all. But thank you all for joining. We are so passionate about this space, and it is a extremely rewarding, powerful space to be in. We just caution you to do it correctly, because if you do, it can help a ton of people and yourself. So remember that why, and reach out to us as needed. And thanks for joining.